G'day, kia ora, hi, how you doing? Um, Nice to see you again. If you've come back for more, you know, make sure that everything's okay. Coming to listen to me. But anyway, nice to have you here once again. No one comes. I'm waffling to myself. So, I've had a good think this week about what I could talk to you all about today. I thought what I might do is I might start with my mum and dad. Um, Mum and dad were in their mid 40s when they got Christine and I, and so they were elderly parents on growing up, and so I would say a lot more calmer to what I was when I had my children in my early 20s. And they grew up through the Depression. Dad, Mum, the only work Dad could get was for the works, and he ended up being on a road gang that opened up what is now the Corkscrew, which is from Queenstown to Frankton, I think it is. A road. Yeah, they have pictures of the gangs sitting on the side of this mountain and blasting all away the rock, huge rocks, to make way for this road. And Mum had my eldest brother only at that stage, thinking that, okay, they're going to Queenstown, which is a very tourist spot nowadays, but back in my day it was just a small town. You went there, you had a caravan, you went and had a couple of weeks holiday and then went home. But it's in central Otago, very popular with overseas tourists now. I think I said that, repeating myself. And anyway, Dad went first to get set up. Mum got on a train to follow, Bobby in tow. I think he was about 2. I think Mum said he was about 2. Bit like me, he was an adventurous wee fellow. And Mum arrived and found that instead of living in a house, they lived in a tent beside a lake. And she said it was quite hard. And that lake, even today, is a nightmare. It's like when you go to a beach, or most lakes, it has a shoreline. It has, you can wade out, and then you could go swimming or do whatever you want to do. But this lake had no shoreline, so you would, if you walked out, you dropped straight down. And this lake, no one's ever been able to reach the bottom. It is bottomless. It's forever. No, I mean, maybe in years to come when they have all this modern submersibles and all that, they might be able to, but now no divers can get down that far or anything like that. So, very treacherous. One story Mum's had, like, the mail and your food came once a month on a boat, dropped everything off, all the supplies. Oh, I forgot to say, getting from Dunedin to Queenstown, Mum lost all her luggage. Gone, kaput. All Bobby's nappies, everything they owned, gone. So anyway, that's how they lived for a while until they got a wee house in Queenstown and bought that, where my next sister was born. And then after finishing all the work there, they moved to Dunedin, and where my dad became a truck driver, and that's what he did for the rest of his life. He drove trucks. He's got his last business. His last job was with a very well-known company in Dunedin, and one of their trucks is actually in the Early Settlers Museum, And I love going in there and just looking at it and thinking my dad drove a truck like that. That was my dad's truck. So he drove trucks, he did all sorts, and Mum was stay-at-home mum. Did all the things that mums did, and because they lived in a depression, you did everything you could to save money. So everyone, mostly everyone, I won't say everyone, I'll say mostly everyone, had veggie gardens. Mostly everybody knitted, sewed, because there wasn't the shops back then. There wasn't supermarkets or Kmart and warehouse and all that sort of thing. When we were kids, you had 2 presents a year. Birthdays and Christmas, that's it. You got a little chocolate egg at Easter time. That was it. There was no getting anything through the year. It just didn't happen. Nobody moaned about it. Nobody expected anything less. It was just the way it is. I mean, I said in the last episode, we have sections of Dunedin, so we're very hilly, very hilly. So South Dunedin is all around to the North Dunedin, is all around the harbour. So you have South Dunedin, and it goes through town, which is central Dunedin, and to North Dunedin. And all around that is reclaimed ground. So it's over the years it's become quite big, and the harbour a little less compared to what it was in the 1840s. And so in South Dunedin and North Dunedin, you had shopping Thursday nights. That was the nights that area of the town opened. And then in town itself was Friday nights. Now, they were late nights, so they were open from 9 in the morning till, I would like to say 8 o'clock at night. I would like to say, I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember the actual time shops closed. Could have been 6 o'clock for all I know, but I can't remember. I'd have to ask someone who's got a better memory than me. So grocery day for us was the army I've told you I'm Salvation Army, so we had one of the wee churches was in South Dunedin, as North Dunedin had theirs and Central Dunedin had theirs. So South Dunedin, they would stand outside the army and the band would be playing and people were just milling around getting their groceries. We had everything in South Dunedin. We had shops that sold clothing, you had barber shops, butcher shops, greengrocer, everything, cake shops, everything. So you just went, and sometimes we followed Mum, sometimes we didn't, and she'd have a big basket and she would go and get bread and veggies and everything that we would need for the week she would get. And that's how you did your shopping. You towed everyone along, and because school was out, so, and you all met up with your local kids and all ran around wild like you did. No one ever said, hey, don't do that. No, can't do that. I mean, we'd be running across roads, watching cars and going from one side of the road to the next side of the road because we're all doing one thing or another, catching up with everyone. And that's how we grew up in early years. And we were happy. I don't ever remember being grumpy or miserable or anything like that. We were basically happy, just doing our own thing. So, but anyway, getting back to Mum and Dad, we grew up with, Mum knitted all our cardigans, made our little dresses. The only thing she would have bought was their socks and our underwear. and our singlets. Little girls dressed up in dresses, no trousers. That was no. Boys wore trousers, girls and women wear dresses. So everything was made, and my mum was still knitting. Well, she wasn't knitting; she was crocheting even into her 80s, because her hands were getting quite tired and she couldn't hold a knitting needle, so she went to crocheting. But she did that right up until she passed, so that's an achievement in itself, isn't it? The commitment just to always have your hands busy and doing. And she taught me how to knit, which I knitted for my children. And I was taught sewing at school. And it was just a thing we did. But it was, yeah, really lovely time. We have schools were very, very. Primary school was all about teaching you young things, not only just your reading, writing, and arithmetic. You had little in the higher class of primary. You got to do social studies. 9 times out of 10, it was either you had to find a story in a newspaper, or had to find out something that the newspaper one was either you had to find something that was coming back from the world news, or something local, or something New Zealand storyline, and you did a project on it. And can't remember what the projects are anymore, but that was it. We had schools. We had 3 terms. The longest term was from September to December. Nowadays, that's changed. They have 4 terms because they found that it was too long, the September to December one. I thought, oh, whatever, don't know how we managed it then, but maybe, but we didn't have, there was no such thing as teacher only day. There was no such, I think we got holiday for Anzac Day, which is our day that we commemorate with Australia, and that's our fallen soldiers in wars, especially in World War One. But it's to commemorate their loss was our gain, and lest we forget why they did it, why they went and fought, and they did that so that we would be free and have a free society. And people today, I think, forget that. They forget what people fought for, and they fought hard and died for. And but anyway, so we had Anzac Day off, we had Easter off, so Good Friday and Easter Monday, and Labour Day, which is in October here in New Zealand, and that was a day off to give all the workers a day off. It was, I think, just to celebrate the hard work that they did, labourers, all the working class. And I shouldn't take out the other workers, like office workers and that sort of thing. Everyone was workers. But and then Christmas. Now we've got so many holidays. I often have to say to my kids, why are they off again now for? I said they're more often off than they are at school. But we were taught our lessons. Oh, there was another thing that we had that I lived through. Because we were a British colony, basically. I mean, when we arrived in New Zealand, most people were either British or Scottish, or from the UK anyway, United Kingdom. So we did in pounds, shillings, and pence. That was our monetary money. And I think it was 1960. I think I was last year at intermediate, so it'd be about 69. I know we had to do the changeover. We changed over to dollars and cents. So for 11 years I'd been counting money in pounds, shillings, and pence, and I had to learn cents and dollars and all that sort of thing, which became quite simple really, because everything went up in tens. But it was so that was a big adjustment. And then later on we had to learn to go from, but it was made further down the track, we had to learn to go from pounds and ounces to centimetres and metres. I'm still struggling with that. I'm still happy doing yards and ounces, and because we had that a lot longer, and that was more ingrained into me. So I still struggle. I have to ask people, how much is a metre? How long's a metre now? And it's like, oh, I'm getting out my tape measure, and sometimes that doesn't even work. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, I'm past working now, so I don't have to worry about all that sort of nonsense as much. And if anything, I'll Google. Mr. Google. Yeah, so I think they were the two major events for me that changed the society. And then later on they brought in this silly daylight saving. You get an hour, they put the clocks back in the fall or the winter, and then they bring it forward in the spring. Yeah. In the spring. So at the moment we're in daylight slaving. So when you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, real time at 6 o'clock in the morning. It just means, because even though we're further south and quite close to the South Pole, yes, we get quite cold weather and we get winds and that, but our sun is very severe. Our motto is, slip, slop, slap. You slip on sunscreen, slap on sunscreen, and wear a hat and sunglasses, because you'll peak, which is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, between 12:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon, peak time. It'll burn your skin off. You'll come in from you'll probably won't feel much of it. And you'll come inside, and at night you'll be beet red because your sun's burnt your skin. You have to do it gradually. Well, I do anyway. We didn't notice it as kids, I think, because we were outside all the time. There was none of this staying inside. So our bodies and our skin just browned naturally as we went along. I mean, just because it was wintertime didn't mean to say we weren't outside running around. We were. And you had a day that wasn't pouring down with rain, we were outside. Yeah. So Dad had a veggie garden. Loved his veggie garden. My husband was a perfect veggie garden maker. He nowadays, I mean, kids don't have the time today. I mean, in the world where everybody's busy, and supermarkets just supply everything. But in our day, everybody had veggie gardens, and we used to raid Dad's pea. He soon learnt. He'd give us our own little garden, and he used to grow peas for us, because we'd always go out and pinch all the peas. So by the time Mum wanted them, there was none left. And that was, yeah, so he learnt, we'll just grow our own little, you have your little patch over there and what have you. So I remember that. And it's we learned a lot at school. School is very informative in New Zealand. Well, it was. We were very, like, even at high school, we were learning history, and we weren't just learning our history, because we learned most of that at intermediate, but we learned, let's see if I can remember. We learned Russian Revolution, English kings and queens. We learned about China. We learned about Germany and what happened there, and we learned about where everything was in the world, and it was great knowledge. You know, sometimes something will pop out of my mouths and my kids will go, where'd you learn that, Mum? I go, I don't know, probably at school. And it's just been in the back of my head and it's come out at the right time. So yeah, we were taught a lot. I remember at high school we had 21 subjects. Simple, not a problem. Of everything. It's from sewing, embroidery, science, biology, English, maths, history, geography. Geography was a wide range. It was not only about the land, it was about the air, cloud masses. I don't know, there's technical words for it all and that. But yeah, we did lots of home economics. I was in home economics, so we learned budgeting and we used to get nurses in. Oh, that's one thing you guys, I don't know if you'll know, Plunket. Plunket's a big thing in New Zealand. It was founded in New Zealand, and that's where, if you have a baby, a Plunket nurse will look after you after you've had your baby. Now they look after you beforehand as well, but back in my day, if you had a baby, you got a Plunket nurse until the baby was a couple of months old, and they would come in and make sure they were doing all their milestones right, their, measure how quick they grow it, their weight, and if you have any questions, you want any advice, marvellous. So they looked after mum and bub, and we've achieved a lot of it for a little country, I think. And we have also, how would I describe this? Our terrain. Put it this way, our terrain. So going from, we live on the east side of New Zealand to the west side. So the east side all the way up, now I can't say a lot for the North Island because I don't live up there, I live in the South Island. So, but it will be basically the same. Except I think their west coast's a wee bit different. So on the east side is the Pacific Ocean. And you get sandy beaches, great surfing spots, and all that sort of thing. As you're going west, you're getting to what we call Central Otago. And at Central Otago, now I've said before, the Southern Alps, which is all our mountains, are a streamline right through the centre of New Zealand, the South Island, right through. That's our mountains and our snow tops. So between the east and the mountains is Central Otago. Now that was our backyard. That's what we called our backyard, because when Christmas comes in New Zealand, I bet a lot of people today who have moved here to live will not know this and wonder what in the world struck them. But anyway, this has happened forever, even when I was a kid. Everyone would stay at home, have Christmas at home. Boxing Day come, That was it, they were gone. Now, in the South Island, we call them cribs, and the North Island, they call them batches. But everybody vacates the big cities and they go to their cribs or camping grounds or wherever, but it was away from home, and 9 times out of 10, it was Central Otago. And they'd take their caravans, their tents, and go to their cribs, which were always beside rivers or lakes. We have huge lakes, big fishing country, New Zealand. Love our fishing as well as sea fishing, but lake and river fishing. And everybody just vacated. So at the moment, I'm sitting here, and we're into what is the date today? Have no idea. Oh, 14th of January. Everybody's still away. The town's half empty because everyone's on holiday. All the dads have taken their holiday from work. People are slowly coming back, the dads, for work. But a lot of families are still away. That town's empty. You get on a bus, which is usually busy. Might be 2 people on it. I got on it the other day and I was the only one on it. But that's the way Dunedin is. Everybody vacates to go and have their holiday, take their kids. So they're either water skiing, fishing, camping, doing all those sorts of wonderful things. And then I think it's about a week before Christmas and before school starts and the madness starts. We used to go away on holidays. Sometimes, if Mum wasn't well, she'd take us. We'd be put up to Christchurch and stay with my big sister up there. But it was so anyway. Central Otago, very hot, very landlocked. Like here on the coast, like 5-minute walk down from my place is the beach. So we get winds. Because we're islands, we get winds. But the further inland you get, the hotter it gets, and less wind. And you get different terrain. It's very dry, it's very tussocky. Now that's a plant in Central Otago, which is like it grows on mountain slopes, beside rocks and all this sort of thing. And it's, and all the rocks sort of are layered like slate on top of each other. And you can get big boulders, and you cross bridges where there's big ravines over rivers, and it's just lovely. As kids, like I said the other day, we'd have school picnics. We'd get on a train and we'd go somewhere, and 9 times out of 10 it'd be to Central Otago. And that's where our fruit is as well, where our lovely cherries and apricots and yum, the best growing over there because the flavour is just wonderful. You know, in those days, the roadside, every 10 yards you'd have road stalls where people put their produce on the side, and you could stop and put them in the honesty box and pick up your fruit and take it away home with you. And so once you hit Central Otago, you've hit your mountains. And here there are passes through it. Beautiful scenery. So you can go, like if you drive up to Christchurch and turn inland to go west, you get on the road and you're in this yellow, barren landscape, and then you start climbing up really steep hills, and you see the most beautiful birds. Our kea, it's one of the it's becoming one of the world famous parrots in the world. The most intelligent. They've even had people out here, I don't know, special knowledgeable people. Our keas are the most intelligent birds in the world. I wouldn't call them intelligent, I'd call them a pest. You can't leave anything out. If you leave anything out, if you leave a boot out, they will sit there, and I'm not lying, they will sit there and they will unpick your lace and then take off with your lace. You'll never see it again. You won't know where it went. You don't leave anything out when you hit West Coast or high mountain range. No way. They are cheeky monkeys. Anything and everything to them is fair game. If you stop your car on the top of the pass to get to the West Coast, if you stop your car, they will be on your car and they will be picking at your aerial, and they'll be picking at your doorway, and they'll be picking at your tyres. Oh, they're little rat bags. They have a beak on them about this long. But to them, it's all, they love to know they're very adventurous little birds. If I was smart enough, I watched some lovely ladies on YouTube, and I don't know how to do it. I would add pictures and all that, so I'm just going to have to say you'll have to rely on Google and look up keas, but we have some big birds, wood pigeons and the albatross I've said, and our hawks and that, but on the whole, yeah, good fun. But anyway, back to where I was heading. So we're getting up, we're at the top of the mountains, and now the scenery changes altogether and it's totally green. So we have forestry, we have dense forestry. I don't know, we get a lot of people get lost in it. They think because we're a small country and they see a forestry walk that or a greenery walk, that they can get off trail and they'll be able to get back on again. Don't ever do that. People have been known to be lost and not been found because the bush is so dense. I don't know. It's and you can get hurt very easily because it's very, and you have ferns and native bush that can turn very thick. So on your descent down, it is getting greener, and it's the wet side of our country, because once you hit the west side of the it's all forestry. It's all national forests, national landscapes, and when you get to a water's edge, that's there is the Atlantic. So we've got Pacific on one side and the Atlantic on the other, and you can just tell. You come on our side, the Pacific, and she's sort of, when it's river's rough, the surf can get rough. But I find once we get over to the west coast and you get to the Atlantic, boy, is she a rough ride. And the beaches, you can probably find a few sandy beaches, but mainly they're rocky rocks. People go over there and look for gemstones like jade and that sort of thing. It's a very big thing. If you've seen Maoris, they have tiki greenstone. That's where they get it, out of the rocks all over on the west coast. It's just lying around. I don't know how prolific it is today, but back then, back in my day, it was just lying there, And so that's a wee bit of, I don't know if you can visualise it or not, but yeah, very different countryside. It's never boring. We don't travel, and we can get from, I think, from one side to the other 4 or 5 hours. We can do it. Driving, like you can leave in the morning, go and spend a couple of hours there and drive back in the same day. Not a worry, not a worry. And I think that's generally a lot about what it's like in New Zealand. Just easy access, and we take it for granted. I think we take it. I did a big OE a few years back, and it was an eye opener. Living in little New Zealand, and being able to go from here to 5 hours up the road was nothing, but you go overseas and it's like not only just the people but the transport, you know, trains that are going X amount of miles an hour, and it's like, gee, our trains just go chugga, 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 chugga. Our buses, and in my day when I was little, we had trolley buses. Now they were lovely. We had the South Island had the first hydroelectric station down at Manapori. We did a field trip there. Probably we only had about two, and that was when we were in high school. We went to Manapori. We had to go and learn because this was all new to us. This was newly built, and we had trolley buses, because this hydro just did all of New Zealand's power. So we had trolley buses, and what they did is it went from, we started off as trams when we were little, which was rails on the ground. There's still one going in Christchurch today. I wish they were still going in Dunedin here. But anyway, they went from trams to trolley buses, and you had an over top wire, and you had your bus, and on the top of the bus you had these pulleys with these long arms, and they'd hook onto the wires. And if the bus driver was too keen or went too fast, they'd pop off, so we'd have to stop the bus and he'd have to get it back on track again. And the one thing we used to love doing as kids, we would get to the lampposts, which were wooden, and we'd put our ears right up against it to see if the bus was coming. And we'd all say, "It's coming," because you could hear it. You could hear the zipping along the line. And that was fun. Kids don't get that today. They're all diesel buses now. There's no excitement about finding new adventures or new things. But anyway, I think I should close now, because I've waffled. I think I've waffled a lot today. I've probably repeated myself more than once, but I thank you for coming and listening to me. I hope, I don't know if I've actually told you much about my little history, but anyway, that's for another day. And what I will do is I will close for now. I will say goodbye, and we will catch up again. Take care. Bye for now.